Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. Today is the day that the Lord hath made. I am rejoiced and extremely glad for who we got in the building today. Representative Ayanna Pressley, our own 7th district. I live in the district, and most of y'all do too. You guys already know how we feel about her when she is seen on the national news. I knew it was coming from like 10 years ago. The first time I ever heard her speak, I knew it wasn't going to be far, and it wasn't going to be long, that she was going to do anything and everything to make sure that we are good. And I'm proud, and I'm excited to claim her as my own. With that being said, a lot of us, there have been 1,000,001 jokes about this damn stimulus. And did your stimmy drop? You checked your bank account yet? Just anyone and everyone talking about the stimulus. But I want to know whether or not you guys actually understand what the stimulus is, what the bill entails, and how it actually affects you, harms you, or what it does as far as community is concerned. So these are very important things to understand. It's not just about the $1,400 and what you get per kid, but understanding the overall bill and how it affects us as taxpayers. Like, you are, all of this $2 trillion is literally your coins out of your bank account, out of your paycheck. And so I want you to be mindful about what it is that it actually is and how it affects you. And though we take everything as a doggone joke, I want us to get really serious about understanding what the stimulus is and why they fought so hard and what ended up coming out of it. And so we are waiting on Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, and once she pops in, we'll go ahead and begin that conversation. But for those who do not know, I just really quickly want to give a quick peek into some of the things that she's been working on. So she is advocating for the reintroduction of the People's Justice Guarantee to transform the criminal legal system. And so she has introduced over a dozen bills informed by PJG in her first term in Congress. And particularly the people's process. In this moment, we have an opportunity and a responsibility to pursue bold structural reforms that shift resources away from institutions that perpetuate brutality and injustice, and invest in solutions that promote community safety and center the dignity and humanity of all people. The People's Justice Guarantee offers a version of true justice, healing, and accountability. It would reduce our prison population and finally usher in an era of mass decarceration. Creating a just legal system is a matter of political will, plain and simple. And it is time we demonstrate the courage necessary to make it a reality. And so I don't care where you're from, I don't care what you look like, you have most likely been affected by the mass incarceration that has taken place across this nation. And the people's process is a step in the right direction. And so I believe she is here. Yes, she is. Beauty. How are you, love?
Good morning. Happy Women's History Month. Well, Women's History is every day, but
every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Good rising. It is so good to see you. First and foremost, I want to ask, how are you?
Oh, thank you, sis. How are you?
I am well. But you are out here fighting battles that women before you have left them defeated.
We have been in unprecedented times for the last year. So, I just want to encourage everyone to be kind to yourself, be patient, extend the same grace to yourself that you do to other people. These have been, really trying times in every single way. Just, collective loss and colossal grief, economic hardship, but I do want to say in the midst of all of that, what has kept me is community and just the collective care and the mutual aid. And that even when, the federal response has failed to keep pace with the depth of the hurt, that people have stood up and they have taken care of their neighbors, diapers, groceries, rent, prayer, so folks have been showing up for one another. And I'm inspired by that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I do know that our time is limited, so I'm glad that you are okay, and I will continue to pray for you and your entire family. And thank you for all that you do for the seven. I know you're on the gram. I know you're on Twitter. I know you've seen all of the jokes when it comes to this Stimmy and the dropping of the Stimmy. Check your bank account. But in all seriousness, what is this stimulus package? What does it entail, and how does it affect us as Americans?
Sure. Okay, so I'm gonna just speak sort of top line in the macro, and then I want to get into the micro and give folks some directions. And Tayla, I'm so grateful for your platform and what you do every day to just educate and empower people in general. But certainly during the times of COVID, and this is not a one-off conversation. Okay, so I want to always underscore that. But this bill I think makes a massive step forward in getting workers and families the relief and the support that they need. I'm really encouraged by a number of the progressive victories that were secured in the package. For example, expanded eligibility for the stimulus checks for mixed status families and for adult dependents. Our immigrant neighbors and the disability community had been left out time and time again in prior relief packages. This still doesn't solve the problem, but we're on pace. So that expanded eligibility was made possible because of myself and other progressive members of Congress who fought for that, along with massive investments to support rental assistance, massive investments in our community health centers, which matters to me because I represent in the Massachusetts 7th more community health centers than any other congressional district in the country. Now, and I do want to say that although what I've been fighting for is $2,000 reoccurring survival checks for the duration of the crisis, and in fact, retroactive, the fact that there is even a $1,400 check in here is really a testament to activists and to progressives who fought for that. So, and then the other thing that I think is really important is that prior to this administration, we did not have a national strategy to combat this virus, and we didn't have a national strategy for vaccine deployment and distribution. And because I've been banging this equity drum throughout COVID, and as the vaccine became available, wanting to guard against vaccine redlining, I fought for the collection of anonymized racial demographic data when it comes to vaccine recipients. And so we do see a massive federal infusion of funds to support vaccine distribution with a lens towards equity, which is so important because I want everyone to access the vaccine, but we certainly need to be prioritizing those communities that have been hardest hit. So those are some of the top lines. Oh, and the earned income, the child tax credit, that is really huge. That's going to cut childhood poverty in half. Now, here are the things that weren't included that I'm going to continue to fight for. $15 minimum wage. We know that would immediately increase the wages for 32 million workers and lift 1 million people out of poverty. So, this filibuster is obstructing our ability to get this done. The parliamentarian as well, but I'm going to fight to legislate for it and to do everything we can to get a $15 minimum wage, federal wage increase, whether it's legislatively or in a relief bill, but continue to fight for that. $2,000 reoccurring survival checks for the duration of the crisis. I'll continue to fight for that. And paid leave, because so many people, essential workers, don't have the peace of mind, or anyone, that if they're sick or they need to take care of a loved one, that their job will still be waiting for them. And so we need paid leave. So $15 minimum wage, $2,000 reoccurring survival checks. paid leave. And then I've also introduced legislation and will continue to fight for canceling student debt, because we got to eliminate a bill for people right now. And also rent and mortgage cancellation, so that folks don't have this big balloon payment at the end that they owe. Okay, so that's in the macro. All right, so now let me get into what folks can expect in real time. So I call them survival checks. I don't even call them stimulus checks, because at this point, it's not about stimulating the economy. This is about survival. This is about people remaining safely housed, buying life-saving medication, groceries, diapers. So survival checks started going out this weekend. So folks should begin receiving those very soon if they haven't already. And they will be for $1,400 for single filers making up to $75,000, okay? And then it sort of phases out after that. You can check the status of your payment on the IRS website at irs.gov/coronavirus/getmypayment. Again, you can check the status of your payment on the IRS website at irs.gov/coronavirus/getmypayment. Now, if you have issues accessing, you can call my district office based in Dorchester at 617-850-0040. My district office has been working remotely, but they check this line regularly and are meeting the needs of constituents every day who call and who have needs. So you can call our office at 617-850-0040. Now, for the Department of Unemployment Assistance and accessing, we've expanded UI. So we've added an additional $300 for your weekly payment. Furthermore, unemployment, which expired, was set to expire days before we passed the American Rescue Plan, has now been extended until September 6th. So you will receive an additional $300 on unemployment if you're already collecting, and that will be true up until September 6th. So please call the department directly at 877-626-6800. Again, that's 877-626-6800 if you have questions about the expanded unemployment, or if you are having difficulty accessing your benefits. And again, that's extended through to September 6th with a weekly supplemental of $300. Now, I want to get back to the child tax credit that I raised earlier, Tayla. So families with children will receive a $3,000 tax credit per child. This is really critical because the Massachusetts 7th is one of the most undercounted in the census and one of the most underly federally resourced. So we do have a high concentration of childhood poverty. And this child tax credit will cut childhood poverty in half. So again, families with children will receive $3,000 tax credit per child in 2021 and $3,600 per child under the age of 6. And these are fully refundable, okay? And then, given your day gig, Tayla, I do want to talk about rental and homeowner assistance. So the bill also provides robust funding for rental and homeowner assistance so folks can pay the bills that they've incurred during the pandemic. So additional funding was included for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Now, what this Emergency Rental Assistance Program is, the ERA, is that it helps renters and landlords cover rental debt incurred during the pandemic. And it can be applied retroactively, and it can cover utilities as well as other expenses. So renters and landlords, if you want to learn more about the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, go to nlihc.org/rental assistance. Again, that's nlhic.org/rental assistance. Now, I've been fighting for eviction and foreclosure moratoriums, but due to the Senate rules, it continues to be an obstruction to our getting the kind of deep relief that I believe that our families are in need of. So the eviction and foreclosure moratorium was not extended. And then on the small business front, and I'm going to end here, the bill further expands our payroll protection program, so that's PPP, the eligibility, so that more nonprofits will benefit, and you can visit sba.gov to learn more. Now, the payroll protection program is set to end on March 31st, but tomorrow we're going to be voting to extend that to June 30th. All right. And the bill creates a new program to give financial assistance to restaurants. Those of y'all who know me, know my passion for restaurants, how hard I fought in my time on the council to expand minority-owned restaurants, to reform our antiquated state liquor license laws. Restaurants are just critical. They provide employment for those who have barriers to employment, folks with quarries, immigrants. They hire from the community. They're just really critical drivers to our economy. And we know they've really been hurting, especially our minority-owned business, especially our minority-owned restaurants. The projections are something like 40+% of them may remain permanently shuttered, never recover from the pandemic. So the bill creates a new program to give financial assistance to restaurants, and the SBA is going to be releasing guidance shortly on how to apply. So there's still some things that we're getting the information on, but again, I'm going to be doing teletown halls and various Zooms and working with our partners like BECMA and Amplify and a host of other Black-owned restaurant owners, just to make sure that folks have that information and that guidance once we have it. And the last thing I would say on that front, Tayla, is you may remember I introduced a bill called SOS, Saving Our Street. It was responsive legislation to what I heard from my partners like the Black Economic Justice Institute, like BECMA, like Amplify. And it's a bill that creates a $124.5 billion grant program. What I heard from our small business owners is that they didn't want loans. They need grants. And so my legislation that I authored with then Senator Harris and now Vice President Harris would create these grants that go up to $250,000. And again, this is a $124.5 billion grant program, Tayla, and 75% of those grants must go to historically underrepresented businesses. So what does that mean? That means beauty salons, barbershops, bodegas, restaurants, our businesses. So I'll stop there, but I hope that's helpful. We're covering a lot of ground. And I hope folks are, listening and I know you'll record this and, folks can play it back, but that's in the macro and the micro.
Thank you so much. So I want to be clear as far as, so people will receive $1,400 stimulus, or that's what they called, but you're saying
I call them survival checks.
Survival checks. And we know when living in Massachusetts, not having worked for the last year, $1,400 is literally a third of your rent for 1 month. So how would, there's a lot of navigation that needs to be done here. Do you know of anyone in community that can help as far as resources are concerned? I know there's a lot of elders that are without food, a lot of people that don't even understand or know how to navigate when it comes to social services.
Sure.
There's a lot that is available, but it seems as if there are communities that are suffering because we don't know how to navigate these spaces. And so we are getting left out.
Well, I would just say that, that's exactly what my office is for. So you don't have to figure it all out on your own. There are a number of community-based organizations, again, who have been meeting the need and providing that collective care and mutual aid. And I do believe the federal response has failed to meet the scale and scope of the crisis. I mean, there's a one-time check of $1,200. Then I think there was one for $600, and now there's one for $1,400. And so again, the federal aid has stopped coming, but the bills have not stopped coming. And because I know the trauma of being met with an eviction notice, because I know the struggle of, where's your next meal coming from? I haven't allowed myself to be complacent in my advocacy and what I have fought for. And again, the things that I believe really do center people. Everyday people who are struggling are all things that I fought for and my progressive colleagues in Congress fought for. Unfortunately, our colleagues across the aisle in the Senate, they are clueless about the hardship people are experiencing and very callous. And so what happens, Tayla, is we pass a very big, robust bill in the House. Then it goes to the Senate. And then it gets, watered down because of our GOP colleagues in the Senate. And it's such a slim, majority that in order for us to get something passed, that's what happens. And then it comes back to the House. But the bills the House has been passing did include a $15 minimum wage, have included paid leave. And I do want to say that child tax credit, Tayla, that is game changing. That is going to help with child care costs and things like, again, for every child, and I'll go back over those points because I want to make sure folks get it right. And I know, Tayla, you wanted me to give my number again. So let me start there and I will do that again. Okay. So if you have questions about anything related to the American Rescue Plan, or you simply just need help from my office, okay, you can give us a call directly at 617-850-0040. This is the number for Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley's district office. I represent the Massachusetts 7th, which includes 70% of the city of Boston, all of Cambridge, Somerville, Randolph, Everett, Chelsea, and Milton. Okay, I'm your Congresswoman. Call 617-850-0040 if you have questions about, how to access your stimulus check, your unemployment benefits, if you have language access needs or challenges, if you want to know how to apply for the payroll protection program and you're a small business owner, if you are a landlord, if you are a renter and you want to know how to access the rental assistance fund, please do give my office a call, and we will do whatever we can to give you that information. And if we're not your member, we'll connect you with the appropriate person. Mm-hmm. But I have to say this, Tayla. I mean, out of all the relief bills that we have passed, this one is truly a massive step forward in the right direction. But again, to truly rescue America, we're going to need to leave no one behind. We're going to need paid leave. We're going to need a $15 minimum wage to cancel student debt, to cancel rent and mortgage, and $2,000 reoccurring survival checks for the duration of the crisis. And those are all the things that I'm going to continue to fight for.
Mm-hmm. Can we really quickly go over the $3,000 child credit per child? What does that mean exactly? Am I going to get a $3,000 check per child? What does that mean as far as a family of, Yeah,
it's a tax credit. So families with children will receive a $3,000. You're getting a tax credit per each child in 2021. And then $3,600 per child under 6. And all of this is refundable. So, those funds are things that you can, you use to provide for your children, for child care costs. And again, what I continue to fight for and my progressive colleagues is a relief package that is responsive to the immediate needs, but also is charting a different path forward. So again, the Massachusetts 7th is one of the most unequal districts in the country. And because we're undercounted in the census and we are federally under-resourced, we do have a high concentration of childhood poverty. So this will cut childhood poverty in half. So that's beyond the pandemic. It meets some immediate needs, but that's beyond the pandemic. And then again, because I've continued to be concerned at the ways in which the vaccine distribution was not going to hardest hit communities, this bill also prioritizes what I've been fighting for, which is the resourcing to collect anonymized racial demographic data for vaccine recipients. And that allows us to get funds to those hardest hit communities, and also to be nimble in how we get the vaccine out, to have mobile units, to have language access, to do grassroots outreach. The best vaccine distribution efforts that I've seen are in Roxbury and Chelsea. And that is because they were led by and driven by community, and government followed their lead.
Mm-hmm. What does this mean what does the stimulus bill mean as far as schools are concerned? Are there money for schools?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, the number one, thing in terms of the school safe reopening, by my estimation, is making sure that everyone in that learning community is vaccinated. So our educators need to be prioritized and they need to be vaccinated. But so far as the federal response, yes, the bill includes massive federal investment to support our schools and safely reopening. So that means so that you have not only PPP and those things, but that you can set up classrooms in such a way so that folks can socially distance and all the other COVID protocols that need to be honored. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, whatever investments need to be made in terms of, you know, technology and resourcing if we're going to do hybrid models and things like that. But the number one thing, Tayla, is we have to make sure educators and everyone in that learning community is vaccinated. And so the bill does provide those massive federal investments to support that.
Okay. I know we're coming to the top of your time. As far as, is it all or nothing when it comes to unemployment? So we know that a lot of Bostonians are underemployed, where they do have a job or a part-time job or a part-time gig. Do you have to quit your job in order to get these unemployments when you're making minimum wage, which currently is not making ends meet because they're ends they don't meet?
Tayla, what I would really recommend is that people call my office because every situation is different, okay? And so allow us to open up a case and to look specifically at your job and what your wage is. Again, because we know, I mean, that's why I'll come back on, but that's why I introduced the federal job guarantee for that reason. You know, last year, Massachusetts had the highest unemployment in the country. I think we were like 17.2 or 0.4%. So we know even pre-COVID, unemployment was an issue, and the burden of that is disproportionately borne by Black, Brown, and other marginalized communities. Our unemployment is usually 2 to 4 times higher. So people are either unemployed or underemployed, and then again, making low wages. That's why I've introduced the federal job guarantee, so that while we're recovering from this pandemic, Tayla, we can have jobs that are public jobs that are paid for by the federal government, that any adult that seeks to be fully employed, that it's a legally enforceable right, that you have a job that provides health care, basic benefits, you're making a living wage, you're working in safe conditions, and it's allowing us to meet the needs of community. So let me give an example. I was a caregiver to my mom, and she rests in peace and power. There are many people right now who are providing child care and elder care for no compensation. With the federal job guarantee, they would be being compensated. It allows us to meet our climate justice goals, our transportation infrastructure goals, because there's going to be a lot of things we need to do in this recovery, Tayla, and that is an opportunity for us to create jobs. Mm-hmm. But so far as specifically who's eligible for unemployment, I really encourage people to call our district office directly so we can open a case and deal with that with a case-by-case scenario. But I do want you to know, I want to be specific to Massachusetts. For the Commonwealth alone, what this bill provides, because remember, our Republican colleagues did not want states and municipalities to have aid. So states and municipalities have been going it alone. You know, because the Republicans have fought that at every turn. So this bill has robust funding for state, local, tribal, so indigenous community, and territorial governments. And so for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, it's $4.55 billion, okay? $4.55 billion to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and $3.73 billion to localities across the state. And then, as I told you, the Massachusetts 7 is the highest concentration of community health centers. I have 15 in my district. 1 in 3 of my constituents receive their care from a community health center. And this bill includes $7.6 billion for our community health centers. Now, why should you care about that? Because they're going to be incredible partners in making sure that the vaccine is equitably distributed, but they're also going to be critical partners in providing care for behavioral health and mental health. And also we need those jobs to remain secure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If we can, last question. Some of the parents are concerned about mandatory vaccines and vaccine passports. Is that something that you can foresee, or is that something like, do we need to be fearful in the sense? One of the questions is just like, I don't want my child to be vaccinated, but I do want my child to go to school. What does that look like for me?
Yeah. Well, I was talking about the educators. You know, I'd have to look more into that, but, you know, I think, you know, every child gets to make every parent, you know, gets to make those decisions for their child, you know, like immunizations, right? You know, we strongly recommend that, but that is a personal choice. Now, I know there are requirements, like with immunizations, because you're trying to guard against things, spreading in an environment. So I actually don't know the answer to that. I haven't heard about that. Doesn't mean it's not happening. I'm just not personally familiar with that.
Okay. Well,
and I would say in terms of the vaccine as well, in general, Tayla, I'm not here. What I think for every person, if that is a personal choice, your health. This is a decision that you should make in consultation with your healthcare provider, with your doctor. But I am urging everyone to consider it, because our communities, because of the comorbidities of structural racism, because of unequal access to healthcare, because of healthcare disparities, and because we dominate the essential workforces, we have been hardest hit. And so I want to make sure that if you want to get vaccinated, that you are being prioritized, because our communities have been hardest hit. And this has really cut Black life expectancy considerably, when we already have the lowest out of all of our counterparts. So I just want everyone to consider it and have the peace of mind, both in combating this virus, but also to stop the spread of emerging variants.
Mm-hmm. So I know we are out of time. This is not the last time we're going to see each other. I pray over you and your family and your mental health, dealing with what you deal with on a daily basis, that we only see pieces of on national media. But I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Tayla. And I'm so sorry. I have a funeral that I have to get to online in a couple of minutes. But, please do remain in touch with my office and have me back. And if you want to, you can solicit people for questions in advance, and I can come in the top half and just answer those specific questions.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Spark FM. It's always good to wake up with Tayla.
Hey. And so don't forget, she gave us the number 617-850-0040. If there's any questions that you have, or if you just want to reach out and need help navigating any local services or federal services, I am Tayla Andre, Spark FM Online. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley of the 7th District. Yo, there's mad comments over here like, that's my Congresswoman. We love her. We appreciate her. She goes hard in the paint for us every single day. And so I would like to take 5 seconds to just pray over her safety, because we know that she was in harm's way during the insurgency that took place at the Capitol. We also know that they attack her. If you know anything about her Twitter or Facebook, they attack her every day. And so I hope we're the prayer warriors to pray over your Congresswoman and give her all of the love that she needs, all of the peace that she needs, all of the safety that she needs. Ashe, ashe. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you have an amazing day. Everything Tayla Andre, TaylaAndre.com. We have unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness Monday through Friday, motivational Monday through Freaky Friday. And so we are whole humans that focus on the whole you. I hope you have an amazing day. Mwah.